This is a Galactic Network podcast.
The Podcast of Terror is a great podcast. It's covering movies that are not for children, and thus this podcast is not for children. The hosts are two adults who will use bad words from time to time. They'll also spoil movies if that's not your thing. So if you don't like spoilers and you don't want to hear some dirty language or some dirty references to dirty parts of your body, then please, please, please wash your body parts better and do not listen to this show. If you can handle it, and I hope you can because there's a great podcast coming up, then please proceed with Podcast of Terror.
Burn and fire, burn the fire. Burn and fire, burn the fire.
Yeah, we changed literally nothing other than the rating system,
Sweet.
which is now on a marry, fuck, kill.
That's right. Okay.
I know, we really classed it up here.
Okay.
As we do.
Yeah. So how you been, man? It's been a while.
Still a frequent viewer. I still watch every week.
Thank you.
We really want to apologize.
For what for?
I started drinking at 10 a.m., so I don't care.
Apparently, I started drinking at 10 a.m. because I thought it was Saturday.
That was really funny, and I had to think. I stayed there thinking, I'm like, wait, it is Sunday, right? It's Sunday.
Well, we went out to me and my girlfriend last night went out to the Disrupt Music Festival in New Jersey, and we were out till like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And I'm an 80-year-old man inside.
I expected you to say like 4 a.m., not 11:30.
Well, we got home around 4 a.m.
Jesus.
Because we had to take the shuttle bus back to the car. We had to drive to the train station. We had to get on the train. The train was another like 45 minutes. And by the time we got home, I was like... So.
Oh, that's funny. I have a nacho cheese dispenser in my house now. So we tried to eat. Yeah, we tried to eat 140 ounces of nacho cheese yesterday for 4 people, and like it doesn't even look like we ate any. And I felt so disgusting by the end of the night. Pretty sure.
Have you ever had music festival food?
Yeah. There's right now is the end of Summerfest in Milwaukee. It's like a 12-day music festival.
It was like, I knew it was shitty food.
Yeah.
But I was so fucking hungry that I ended up eating like...
Just eat a shoe if you had to.
I ate like 2 cheesesteaks, 3 orders of mac and cheese, and just like whatever we were passing by.
Yeah. It was probably pretty good though, right?
For festival food.
You paid an arm and a leg, and it was very mediocre.
Literally $22 for a cheesesteak.
Oh, Jesus.
That's like that big.
Yeah, right. Fuck that noise.
Did we talk about this last week that there's a show on the cooking channel called Carnival Eats, and it's basically like, how long can you fucking go with this show, which is just deep fried everything that's bad for you? But apparently several seasons worth, and I think even a different host has taken over at some point.
Yeah.
I love me a good corn dog, which you can only find a really good corn dog at a carnival. Right. Occasionally there's something fun there. Aaron's a funnel cake person. I get that. Or churros. I can't handle that much fried stuff. It's hard living in Michigan for me. But how far can you go with these fucking things that you're just hanging out at carnivals where you already don't trust the people with your lives when you're getting on the fucking rides, but then you're going to go and say, well, my cardiologist says that I'm perfectly safe to get this fucking deep fried stick of butter put in powdered sugar rammed up my ass.
Well, so you'd think that your cardiologist would want you to go on the rides to make sure your heart is still like active.
Pumping.
Yeah, right. Like once in a while, you gotta really
coming in here. Just go up there and die.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? No, nobody agrees with me.
Get a bacon wrapped iguana and get on the fucking merry-go-round and just go. When you see the Lord's hand reach out, you take it.
Huh. All right.
That's it.
You gotta start somewhere, don't you?
Yeah. I don't know. Huh. I switched to ground turkey for my sloppy joes.
Ooh, I do. I like ground turkey. Like you even get like the lean meat. It's less disgusting and yeah.
I'm not saying I'm a litmus test for what people should do for their health. Absolutely not. I'm just saying.
Neither am I,
Right.
though. I'm not saying you're wrong.
And Anthony, I just had my first cheesesteak in the last month, ever,
And
I like it. We've gone back to that brewery a couple of times since then, and it's the thing that I consistently.
well, like you get those purists that are like, oh, it's not cheesesteak unless it's from Philadelphia, or just like those people who are like, it's not champagne unless it's from Champagne, France. I'm like, fuck you.
Right.
High Life is the champagne of beers for a reason, fuckers. I don't know. I got home like 10 minutes before we started doing this, and I looked at my wife, and she goes, I'm going to have a beer. I said, if I stop, I'm going to fall asleep. So I need to ride this wave until the other soccer game tonight. So, sorry.
Yeah,
That's
so
all I'm
you
gonna say.
watched soccer.
Yeah, the women won the World Cup this morning.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the men are going to play the Gold Cup final tonight, and women were pissed because the men's game was after them, but the women are in a different country. It made no sense when I heard it, and
Does that mean like the men are the headliner? What does that do?
It means fucking nothing.
Yeah, like,
It's the first time in history that a men and a women's team from the same country have had a final in two different cups on the same day.
yeah,
Can
it's
we
like
just fucking
look,
take it for
bro,
what it is?
You're opening for Van Halen, but it's with Sammy Hagar singing, so it's not the prime Van
Right.
Halen. You're gonna get the glory of this show.
More people cared about the women anyways because they're good.
Yeah,
Buffalo Wild Wings did not open early for the men, ladies. Yep. So I'm dead on the inside, which is no different than any other time we do this.
it is consistent with the
Yeah.
past shows.
But Anthony's here. Anthony.
Anthony's here, looking good as always.
Dapper as fuck.
Thank you.
Yep. That slimming black jacket.
Yep.
I would throw a $1 bill on you if I was near you.
Thank you very much.
In hopes
That's
you'd
why I
get
wore it.
naked.
As well.
In case you weren't sure where
The
I
night
was
is
going.
young. The show has just begun.
It is 3:30 in the afternoon. The night is very young. Well, it's 4:30
That's
for
right.
you guys. I'm in the
Yeah.
past. I'm Marty McFly.
Yeah, I should be deep into my third nap of the day by now.
I'm hoping to take a nap after this before more drinking later. Very, very rough life.
It's just a sleep belch, right? Isn't that what you call it when you, like, I just have to pass out for 30 minutes and then I can come back up for air?
Yeah, yeah. A power snooze.
Yeah.
A booze snooze, if you will.
It's just like when you belch in your hand and it makes more room for you to pour more shit down your gullet.
That did happen to me earlier today when I finally ate
I know
something.
it did.
I was
I'm not speaking out of turn. I know
So
exactly who you are, Matt.
Oh, yeah. I think
Tell us how you've been doing. What have you been up to?
Trying to stay sane and not jump off a bridge. You know?
you have 14
one of
movies
those-
coming out this month.
15.
15. Jesus Christ.
But no. No, because I mean, you know, I'm trying to keep myself sane.
Yeah.
It's hard when you live in like this super fucking busy city, and you just want to. And I work in Times Square for my day job, so going to and from work is just the biggest pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you work in complete insanity in the town that you're in, and
Correct.
you're an artist, which is
Yeah.
like already bad for you.
That's right. I mean, I think I'm gonna.
Bad for your health as far as food and booze. That is the religion for artists. That is what you're supposed to do to be creatively motivated. Is well, it's a lot of bourbon and shotgun pellets, and that's mostly it, right?
Pretty much.
Huh.
I mean, that's like. I mean, food is really what fuels my art.
I feel like I can get on board with that.
That's where I used to I still do occasionally, but I used to teach acting intensives and film intensives in Boston and Rochester and all that stuff. And when they asked me to do it, I was like, I don't know, it's not really my. I don't know, like we pay for your meals. I'm like, okay, when does my train leave? When do you need me there?
Well, and eating in New York, I assume requires a part-time job just to fund it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I went to a Burger King.
A lot of my recent.
Go ahead.
It's no, you first.
Oh, I went to a Burger King in San Francisco, and everything was like $6 more than it was here. I was very confused.
It's crazy.
Made me pay for a bag. That's it.
It's ridiculous, and that all goes to like the rent. That all depends on the rent that they pay.
Yeah, that's
paying for stuff in New York is like paying for stuff at the airport. It's everything
Literally
like a giant service charge. I mean, San Francisco's not really any different. Plus, they have you pay to get across any number of bridges to get into the city and escape, and your parking is $30 for half a day, and
a toll over the bridge is $15 one way.
What? Yep. Why? That's so bad.
Yeah.
What happens if you take a bus? I'm assuming
the bus is just so the bus it's like it's like a $3 ticket depending on where you're going. When I go into Jersey, it's usually $7 round trip.
Okay.
But that's included in the.
That's what I figured.
Little
but
bits are taken out of every passenger's. So yeah, I don't drive at all. It's not worth it.
I assume that when
the bus is its own personal kind of hell.
It's yeah.
Yeah, well, bless your heart for living in a shithole. I mean, just trying to think of which friend I wanted to poop on.
Like, it's one of those things. Like, I've never had the desire to go live in a giant metropolitan city like that. But the people that we know that do, it's kind of amazing and interesting and like, okay, yeah, if you're into it, then that's the best. I just don't think I could ever be into that. I'm way too, fat. I don't like stairs or people or the smell of urine or any number of things that would ruin it for me. But if it's your jam, good. You made it.
It smells like nothing but urine. It is literally, you step outside, it smells like an outhouse.
So why do you live there?
I was born in upstate New York, like maybe 2 hours north of the city, and then I came here for school to study acting, and then
now you can't afford to leave.
It's like if I leave, I feel like the last 5 years I've spent here are just in the shitter.
That is a Stockholm Syndrome thing, though. It is seriously like they beat it into you from the beginning. If you leave, you've lost.
Yeah.
And so this is where your artists are. This is where your actors and your stage people and your directors and everything. It's New York or it's Southern California, and they're both fucking Sodom and Gomorrah stationary places of just like, no, don't turn your back on us because you'll be fucking Lot's wife and you'll turn to salt and you will be nothing. You'll be dust in the fucking wind if you walk away once because you'll never get to come back. We'll just slam the door on you on the way out and have 16 more like teenagers come in that are far prettier and smarter than you anyways, or it doesn't matter if they're smart. Really, we prefer them not be. But just like, yeah, bring in all the fucking new crop and eat my shit, you fucking peon.
Wow.
And we're like supposed to accept that and say these are the greats of our time. These are the masterpiece authors. I mean, I love you, Anthony, and I highly respect what you do, and Jack and people, many people. I'm not shitting on the people. I'm shitting on the idea.
Right. Absolutely.
Did I hear you quote Master P in there?
Would...
No.
No. What?
Master P?
I don't know what a Master P is. I assume it's just the guy who's in charge of cleaning up the streets of New York, and he does it by pissing on it.
I hope you're kidding that you don't know who Master P is.
I might be kidding. I'm not kidding. I really don't.
He's a rapper and entrepreneur. Neither of you have ever heard of Master P. Holy shit. At least Anthony's super young. Corey, what's your excuse?
I'm super old.
But
there was probably a sweet spot, a P spot in there that is a place that I'd not land.
Dude, does No Limit?
I could tell it was somebody hip hop, but I don't know if that's like a Wu-Tang or a
no.
Or
he was.
Kanye,
it was like
if he's Biggie in East Side or if he's Tupac in West Side, and I don't even know if I got those sides right. I'm South Side.
The No Limit Soldiers. He started that whole thing. That was like when I was in middle school. So you listen to the hardest of raps to try to prove that you're a tough one on the mean playgrounds of a private Catholic grade school.
I come from the land of Dougie Fresh and Houdini. You know, I was a Beat Street fucking Run DMC, you know, that kind of shit.
What I do at night, I call Beat Street.
I know you do. And it's all a dark alley, and it's just you in there with your problems.
And sweat. I always make sure that I let the sweat run down my face. I really derailed the conversation you guys are having, and I'm not sorry.
That's cool.
I
think it was being rather insulting to Anthony's people. Unintentionally.
This is where Anthony's supposed to go, what do you mean, you people? Yeah. That backfired.
No, Matt, what do you mean, you people?
I'm on your side, buddy. Oh, I know.
We would go to San Francisco for the theater, you know, and I feel like if I was in New York, it would be a lot of live shows. It would be a lot of plays and musicals and that kind of stuff, you know, the Broadway kind of deal.
Right.
That's what I would be into. I would love it for that. I would certainly love it because that's where, you know, most comic book stuff happened, you know, up until DC moved to Southern California to get absorbed into the Warner Media shit. The idea of going to New York was like, that's where I'm going to go, and I'm going to see DC Comics building, and I'm going to see Marvel Comics building, and that shit mattered to me. But that was the only time I could see like going there, because the rest of it scared the fuck out of me. I've seen Arthur too many times, and that guy is a drunk motherfucker. Granted, now I do a show with Arthur. Matt, that's you.
I don't. What?
Don't tell me you don't know who Arthur is.
Like the little cartoon aardvark?
No, it was Dudley Moore. Later redone by Russell Brand.
Just Googled.
Someone in New York came up with that.
Oh, okay. What, 1981? This was before I was born.
Yep.
So I don't know what you want from me.
Erin keeps getting the song from Arthur stuck in her head. The Christopher Cross song, which is just a Doppler effect being sung.
But which song is that?
I think it's If You Could Copy in the Moon of New York City.
Can you sing it, please?
No.
Why
All right. Once in your life. Right.
All right. I don't know why you stopped, but okay.
I don't know if I know the words.
Oh, that's fine. Then you just mumble them, like most rappers these days.
Mumblecore.
Yeah, I'm glad.
See, I'm aware of some of this stuff.
Really impressed that you know what mumblecore is.
I'm hip. I'm cool.
Yet you did not know who the No Limit Soldiers were. Mm-hmm.
Well, they obviously have their limits.
No, they have no limits. That's the entire purpose. You know what? I just can't handle you right now. Anthony, what movies do you have coming out? Let's talk about you. Corey's singing through you off, didn't it?
No. This summer I have a film coming out called Abstraction, which I'm not sure. I sent it to you guys, right?
I did.
Yeah,
you totally sent it to us.
Okay.
I'm just an ass and I haven't watched it yet. I'm really sorry.
No, I thought it was the idea is that we're going to watch it to discuss it with you, but that didn't become what this episode was. So we didn't.
Oh,
there's that too.
That's right. Well, you know, down the road.
We'll have you come back.
It comes out. So it'll be out on VOD probably. We're end of this month, and then it'll be out on Blu-ray in August. So
now, when you say it's going to be on video on demand, is that any particular service, or is it every service, or some services harder to get into than others?
Vimeo on demand.
Vimeo.
Okay.
Vimeo, yeah. It'll be on the same. It'll be through the same provider as that did the video on demand distribution for the Audition.
Okay.
So they're going to be doing this too, and then we're hopefully down the road, like later this year, fall, going to do like a package deal with those two films as well as a few others that I have coming out.
Nice.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see.
Yeah, don't fuck it up, Corey.
Corey, what is?
All right. Guess not. Thanks, Corey.
Was I supposed to answer that one? I felt like being quiet was the only thing I could do in that case.
I don't know. Not entirely sure what I'm doing with my life right now.
And Anthony, you've been directing theater?
Sorta. This summer I'm directing a production of Matilda the musical in upstate New York. So I don't know. I've never worked with this number of kids before, so we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't,
take a deep, because everybody says the worst things to do is to work with kids and animals.
Right.
And
but they're,
one here, so
I'm sensing some hostility. Yeah. No, we had auditions for Matilda back
not
in June.
Like the audition.
It's not like the audition. Those no.
It's two very different auditions.
Yeah, two completely different scenarios. But if the kids need to shape up for the show, we might be heading that route.
So this is a musical?
Yeah. Yep. Which I think I've acted in a lot of musicals, but I've never directed one. But they're a great group of kids. They're awesome. We had a little meet together, and we start. I'm a little nervous about it, but it's going to be awesome. But it's like it acts as a summer camp. So we rehearse for 2 weeks, and then the show goes up. It's an acting intensive.
That is cool.
So for 2 weeks, from 9 to 5, we rehearse the show. They already have their scripts, but we don't have our first day of rehearsal till I think it's August 12th, and the show goes up August 23rd.
Shit.
Now, so in the I am a musical fan. I've seen quite a few of them. I've never been in one. Weird stuff in like nursery school, Christmas pageants, but I know there's been like a couple of things that have been sort of like either sci-fi-ish, horror-ish, or like horror musicals lately. And then I just watched, finally, I got through all of Umbrella Academy this weekend because, anything to distract myself from writing. And there's a scene early in the film or in the series, in the first episode, where they all dance to Tiffany's I Think We're Alone Now. But then later on in the episodes, they have a dance scene between two of the characters. And it just kind of reminds me of like, every once in a while you see a dance scene break out in a movie, like Clerks 2, they had the dance scene. And I love that moment. Having a background in musicals, but also being someone who's very prolific in horror stuff, is that something that you think you would ever either do a musical film or do a musical horror thing yourself? Is that something that you want to kind of work into what you would normally do with other projects?
Never say never. I love Dr. Horrible. I love Rocky Horror.
Yep.
I love Repo.
Yep.
I love Little Shop of Horrors. It's one of my favorite musicals ever. Even Sweeney Todd. Oh, my bad.
That's all right.
It happens.
Yeah.
We're always technically challenged here.
Am I still there?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Your
Let's
video
see.
disappeared, but there you are.
Ya? There we go. That's what happens when you work on your phone. This is showbiz, kids. I think it's possible. I don't know. I kind of take the ideas as they come and work with what the material that I either think, whatever comes to my head, or what anything is. If something requires a musical number or dance number or something, I would be totally on board to do it. I love it. I love the medium. But I think the content would have to lend itself to that. But I would, yeah, absolutely, I'd be open to it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where with Umbrella Academy, as a for instance, you're already suspending disbelief for a lot of stuff as it is, and tonally it fit in what the project was. While there's other kind of horrific things that happen in the show,
Right.
It lent itself to the taste of like, and they can just break into a dance scene, or they can do this other stuff, and it's this kind of thing that I really enjoy, because it just changes your expectation of what you're watching. And
Right.
sometimes
Well,
it
even
gives you a sense of safety in the midst of something that is also making you frightened.
Right. It's like, oh, this is just a movie. I mean, I get, even like, have you guys seen The Shape of Water?
Mm-mm.
Not yet.
There's a musical sequence in there, and
Okay.
it comes completely out of nowhere. Comes completely out of left field, because it's like the whole film is in color, but this musical sequence is in black and white, and it's done very much like in the style of like a 30s dance scene on a stage with like a band playing in the background and the two characters like waltzing in the foreground. And it's so weird, but it strangely works for the film.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the kind of thing it's such a shortcut to a romanticism
Right.
in a movie when they do that. It leaves the tension, everything else that's going on. That's why it seems kind of magical to me. Plus, it's also the idea that people would just stop whatever they're doing and break into dance or break into a song. And breaking the song is a little bit different. I mean, you would have to, at that point, want to be writing your own stuff, or I guess taking songs and just working them in, which
Right.
both have their high points and low points. But I think that I find that fascinating, and knowing that you are a person who we've known more or less working in the horror genre, and looking at like, oh, but he's doing Matilda. He's doing this kids musical play, which seems very different, but it's not like anybody lives in a vacuum creatively. It's not like we all come and do just one thing only.
Right. Well, and I think everything has like that. Like, I like to work on the things that interest me, and the things that interest me are so vast, and yet they're all connected in some way or another. Like Matilda, yeah, it's a kid's novel, but there's some dark themes in that story. Like you have a kid who's picked up by her pigtails and swung around and thrown out of a courtyard, and like you have the principal of the school who forces the overweight kid to sit in an auditorium in front of everybody and eat an entire cake. It's like there are those I think it's interesting. There's still those dark themes, like, and that's what interested me about the piece. And I mean, when it comes to musicals, I don't think anybody has to sing. Like people are like, oh, like people sing in musicals because the emotion becomes so hard to contain that you have to sing. Nobody has to sing.
Right.
It's not a requirement, but it's the medium, and it's pleasant to listen to, and I think, yeah.
Well, there's levels too. There's musicals where they sing all the dialogue that are more operatic. There are musicals where they just have songs occasionally. There was Hedwig the Angry Inch, where it's like him giving a rock concert over time throughout the thing, but her giving a rock concert, but at the same time,
there's still a story. Right.
There's a story there, and the music hangs around it, but it's her performing music, and it makes sense in the context. It doesn't feel out of place. All of that stuff. But I like the fact that, yeah, no one should be pigeonholed into one thing. That's not how people are. It's cool if like you have one thing that becomes your signature. Who wouldn't love to have that ability? But it's still nice to see somebody to kind of reach in. And when you see someone like Joss Whedon doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, and is known for this show and this amazing, cool horror show, but then he saw all of a sudden like, and here's our musical episode, and everyone's like, what? A musical episode on Buffy? What are you talking about? And then it's incredible. And then he goes and he does Dr. Horrible after that. And you're like, shit, man, this guy's got something else going on that we would not have realized without this. I love that stuff.
Yeah, totally.
boners.
But I also agree. Roald Dahl is the one who did Matilda, right?
Right.
And he, like a lot of classic, what we consider kids' stories, kids' fairy tales, does not hold back on torturing or killing kids in his stuff.
Right. He's because I think because when he would write, he knew kids could handle it. He didn't sugarcoat or talk down to kids.
Yeah, because kids would chase that stuff anyways.
Right. Like, the world is cruel. Get over it. But yeah, I find that so interesting. Versus someone like Dr. Seuss, who wrote drastically different from Roald Dahl. I think England they were able to make their kids grow up faster by shoving Roald Dahl down their throats. By doing that, they did them a great service by doing that, I think.
Well, I mean, his flavor is closer to something like Oliver, anyways. If you you go to that, their classics are a lot of cruelty to kids in their stuff.
Yeah.
But which is not to take anything away from Seuss. I loved Seuss growing up. I love the absurdity. I love the fact that it was just like take creative license to the furthest levels and reaches and stuff, and just do whatever you can to make the rhyme to keep it interesting, but keep it lively and keep it kind of animated, and build ideas in the kids' heads of the unimaginable imagined. I think that's incredible too, but they're just two different takes, and they're both wonderful. And Matt and I had done a show early on where we talked about someone had asked us to talk about horror movies and shows for younger viewers and for kids and stuff. And even with that, we kind of we didn't want it to be horror in theme only, but not with the scariness. It's like kids need to be scared. They learn from being scared.
Right.
Coddled fuckers. And I'm not a parent, so listen to me, I guess.
But that's our background. Like when we were kids, we went after horror movies. We wanted to find out about that stuff. We saw it, and it was the taboo kind of like, this is not meant for kids. And it's like, well, shit, then that's exactly what I want to see.
Corey, I would like you to know that I also went after horrors.
Well, I know.
It's less fun when you just agree to it.
Wow, that's a rapey statement.
Not really that rapey. They were horrors. They were compensated adequately for their service.
Yeah, but it's less fun if they agreed to it.
Oh.
Right.
You took it there,
now
man.
You got it.
About that. I don't know. I don't know where to go. I went down a deep dark path and I can't finish it. You win. Do you want to talk about this movie?
That's what I was waiting for you to get to. I wanted you to get there on your own. I believed in you, Matt.
Well, I wanted to make sure that if there were any other inappropriate statements either one of you wanted to make, you could do so. You weren't rushed. But I guess we should talk about this movie.
What movie is it, Matt?
Behind the Mask. The Leslie Vernon story.
The Rise of Leslie Vernon?
Yeah, whatever, that one too. Didn't like it the first time, didn't like it the second time. I'll start there.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm like they're gonna like this one. They have to. Every movie I brought you guys.
Okay. I will wait my turn because I have a very short, what I have to say is not in depth. But I get what they were trying to accomplish. I just didn't care for it.
So was it the execution, or was it that you didn't really like the idea?
No, I thought the idea was really funny. You know, it takes place in a universe where all the serial killers that we watch in all these movies actually exist, and it's not that they're insane or supernatural. It's that it's like being a mechanic. You just kill people because you're in the business of creating fear. I get it.
It's like the wolf and the sheepdog that wake up every day and go clock in for work, and then the wolf is trying to steal the sheep from the dog, and the dog keeps nailing the wolf down to the wall.
Yep. I thought the guy the Leslie Vernon turned into a wiener really quick. Some of it just was kind of cheesy and like it's a documentary, but all of a sudden it's like a 3-camera shot in the library. I'm like, that's fine, but I would have preferred if they wouldn't have broke this situation. Like maybe let it play out, but you're still doing it from like the documentary camera angle. Maybe it doesn't look the best or it doesn't read the best, but you're still sticking with what you've created instead of like all of a sudden you're on a set with a bunch of camera angles and all this shit's happening. Also the underbite of the main girl, I couldn't get over it. I know that's like yeah, well, whatever. She should see an orthodontist. It seems really petty, but it's like I couldn't get past that. Sorry.
Wow. No, that's fair. I mean, that's the whole point of the show is having opinions and stuff. And I agree with you in that when it goes from being the documentary style movie to all of a sudden not, it doesn't do enough to change to make it feel like a stark contrast to what you've been watching the whole time. And I agree. If they had somehow managed to still do it as a documentary, although those movies usually piss me off in their own way. God damn, fucking J.J. Abrams. But I don't disagree that it seemed to want to do things one way and then cheated its way out of it when it felt like it had to. But I like the fact that Leslie was a bit of a douchebag. Not so much that his character was awful. It was just that he had to play it kind of like just normal guy. You know, he's kind of charming. He's kind of funny. And you have to do that to buy into that they are hanging out with this person who is going to go on to murder a bunch of people. And they know he's going to murder a bunch of people. That's the whole reason they're there.
Right.
But their ethics kind of come out of nowhere of like, oh yeah, this is all going great. This is really good stuff. And oh shit, you really killed them. And that's what we didn't get is the behind the scenes stuff of them talking where they're like, yeah, but it's not really going to happen. And them sort of disbelieving it. And then when it happens, them having to own up to the fact that they're a part of it. They allowed it to be what it is. They needed to establish a little bit more of their reasoning as to we're okay with this, we're okay with this, we're okay with this. Now we're not okay with this.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, is the next one out yet?
No, they were gonna make a sequel. I know, and then they turned it into a comic book because I don't think they got the full funding for a sequel. I don't know if it's still happening. But I know that there's a comic out. I think it's The Return of Leslie Vernon.
Yep, you are correct.
But I'm not sure. It's like, I don't know if the movie's happening. I would love to see it.
Oh, it's just 2018 is when they said that the sequel is happening.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge, but one of those things too is that was going on in Hollywood, and you see it a lot in the comic book movies now, is that you do a comic book and it's kind of storyboarding your movie to a certain degree so you can sell people the idea easier. It's like, instead of me making you a pitch, here's a comic. You can see what it is that we're trying to do. Now give us money so we can go do it.
Right.
But yeah, so I noticed that Kane Hodder was featured in the credits for this quite a bit. He played the mortician at the end.
Wasn't he in the beginning too?
He was in the beginning. They were like recording the houses that were near Leslie Vernon's house, and he was like across the street, and he looked at the camera and then went inside the house because he was like gardening out front of his house. And then who else was in it?
Robert Englund.
I thought Gunnar Hansen wasn't in it. Was he? I thought he was.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't pick that one up. Zelda Rubinstein from Poltergeist and
right. She's my favorite cameo in that entire film.
She was great. So the reason why I was bringing up Kane was because
I have a crush on him.
Well, but rightly so. It's because the fact that what Leslie, sorry, I keep wanting to say Lillian X for some reason, some 80s band that I liked. Leslie didn't have the ability to be intimidating while also being charming.
Right.
And if it had been Kane Hodder doing that part, because we've seen him do both different things, we know he's got more range. But the expectation is we see Kane Hodder, we know he's going to kill people because he's Kane Hodder. But then he has a personality that can display, that can do something else. If it had been someone of his caliber in that role, it would have felt a little bit better, I think. And I don't want to take away from the people who were acting this, who did good jobs. In my opinion, it was a good cast. They did a good job acting in this. But that would have sold it a little bit more. Because Leslie was just kind of goofy, charming, funny, not psychotic enough, not enough to make you feel that switch happen when he clicks over into being the murderer. And so I think that was part of what was missing, is the intimidation factor.
That's fair. Yeah, I can see that.
Robert couldn't have done it because Robert, while the first time I ever saw Robert Englund was in V, and he was playing the sweetest, most innocent character ever in that. He was kind of Data from Star Trek The Next Generation before Data existed. Robert is just now too easily put into the creep factor.
Right. Well, this is the first thing I saw him in.
Robert Englund?
This film. Yeah.
Holy shit. Wow.
Cool, because I saw this movie. This is maybe one of the third or fourth horror films I saw growing up. Because we rented Hatchet from Hollywood Video.
Right.
And this was one of the trailers on the DVD. And I was like, oh my God, whoa. And so we rented that the next weekend. And that's when I first saw Robert Englund in anything.
So that's funny though, because a lot of this is, again, it's about a play off of these other horror movie things that have existed in these characters. One of them being Robert Englund's character, Freddy Krueger, all existing in this world. And so you didn't really know the characters as they were being told.
I had never seen a Nightmare on Elm Street film, and I had seen Halloween, and I had seen Jason Goes to Hell.
Wow.
But nothing else. And yeah, so this was kind of like, I was early this is one of the early films I saw. So maybe part of it's that, maybe part of it's nostalgia, but I still think it's like, it's one of those films. This is the film that inspired the Audition.
Wow.
Because I had never made a found footage horror film. And I was like, oh, maybe I could, try something along the lines of this where it doesn't necessarily follow the victim. It's kind of like a video diary of the villain.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where the idea for the Audition generated from, was this film.
Where the footage is beneficial to him. He's trying to create himself into being this legend. Right. And in the Audition, the guy is trying to basically show himself being a director.
Right.
And so the footage for him is very important. It's all about what his being is. It's just that he's got this monstrous way of bringing it about.
Right.
And that is kind of the thing, is that if you want to be seen as one of the greats, how do you make that happen? And I love the idea of the Ahab, that you have somebody who comes in who is like the opposite of you, that wants your Dr. Loomis character, your Nancy from Nightmare, who's also the final girl, but when she comes into Dream Warriors, she's the Ahab. Right. Those are the things that would make you be taken more seriously. A serial killer who kills a couple of people and then just, no one knows anything about him. He doesn't have a mythos behind him. It's not very interesting. And there's so many of these movies that are ripoffs of these things that are that. They're just like oh, some guy goes and drills into people's heads. And so the most interesting thing is the way that he's killing them, but not who he is.
Right. Well, and I think that's what's so interesting about our villain in this is that his name is Leslie Mancuso, but he kind of leeches off of the Leslie Vernon mythos.
Yep.
Because he's like, oh, this is easier than having to create and build my own legend. He just lives his life as Leslie Vernon.
Yeah, so he's Jason from New Blood as opposed to the regular Jason Voorhees. He's
right.
He's stealing
someone where
stick.
Right.
Except he's not stealing that someone else actually murdered people. He's just taking that and making it
the legend, right?
Legend of him, which is fine.
Even down to like knowing that I can't remember Robert Englund's character, even down to knowing that he can't get anywhere near him because he has a restraining order.
Right.
Well, definitely, it was like interesting from when he talked about the closet and shit and how he like sabotages all the weapons. He goes, well, they're going to do this and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And I'm like, well, it's kind of, yeah, it's interesting how they play it out like that because on every single slasher movie, the same things happen. So from the angle of like, well, we already know it's going to happen, so we're just going to let that happen. But you can't let them go into certain rooms that are going to, like the whole like womb closet thing. I didn't think really needed to happen.
I still laugh when I see the scene where they walk in on the proclaimed final girl just having sex.
Like really into it.
Yeah, well.
Like really having sex.
Sometimes they need a good deep dicking, guys. No.
But that's where some of this falls apart for me is we've got the rule establishment thing already that's happened in the Scream movies. To see that same kind of thing repeated of the virginal final girl.
Right.
I like when they turned it on its head a little bit in Cabin in the Woods, where they're like, and you're the virgin. She's like, I'm not a virgin. They're like, we work with what we have. In that part, it made sense. In this, turning the documentarian into a virgin didn't seem to make sense to me. It didn't seem to go with what her character had been portrayed as. Not because she couldn't be, but just because there was no hints of it there or anything. It just kind of like, oh, and everyone keeps telling me, stay away from virgins. And it hasn't occurred to me that, shit, I've never had sex. And this guy's been hanging out with me all week. And this is what he's into. No way he could have picked up on that. Really, how could he have picked up on that, first of all? But secondly, just that didn't work. And then that he had walked her through and said, I've already sawed apart all these weapons. And then she still goes in there and grabs one of the ones that he had sawed apart. He should have led her to stuff of like, these are the ones that I don't mess with. And so she goes and grabs one of those and finds out, no, he's way more thorough. He did do that. To see her go through the same motions that we'd already had the expectations of and that she'd been shown, like saying, I have to go out the window to do this because it's the only way out. I get that. But the other parts of it, it's like, she's still playing by his rules. And that didn't really make sense to me. I tore it apart at the end, except I think she was doing it because she knew that's what he wanted, is that his final ending, he was okay with the fact that he was going to die and that she was going to win. He wanted to be challenged by this final girl character. It just turned out to be her as opposed to the original one. But it still felt a little forced on that respect of like nothing changed from what he had said.
Right.
And I would have liked to see her character prevail in a smarter way. But the juicing was fun.
That was.
Do you not agree with the juicing?
You didn't think the juicing was fun, Matt?
No, I was asking if you don't agree. Your reaction to Corey made me believe it.
I think so too. Because I was thinking about the line he says earlier when he's like, he's like, yeah, it's a cider press. He's like, what's it gonna do? Well, you put apples in it, and then juice is gonna come out. Oh, tonight tonight's gonna hurt some people.
There were definitely some funny lines, like the part where he talks about how much cardio he has to do because he needs to
Right.
walk, and you know what I mean. Like that shit was kind of funny, but I don't know.
I like when he's talking about his pet turtles, and he's like, "Yeah, I haven't fed them in weeks, but little fuckers just won't die."
Yeah,
I only have pets that I can eat. That was a good
that was
line.
weird. Yeah, I mean, maybe the movie would have better served as maybe 45 minutes to an hour instead of a full 90-minute movie. I don't know.
That's fair.
I don't really know what I would cut out to make it better, though. I don't know. Don't listen to me.
It's obvious that it's. Go ahead.
No. I think definitely the first 2/3 are stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does. I think the third act, the moment the teens get to the house, is when it really starts to go downhill. Yep. I love the movie, but I think that's my least favorite part of it.
Yeah.
If the movie had really been the documentary more and them not deciding to change their minds to save them, if they had walked away and then the documentary becomes them living with the fact of like the reveal later on in the town of what happened and this serial killer.
That's probably how I would have ended the film.
Yeah.
I would have cut off the film right when they say goodbye to him when he's about to go and do his shtick, and then maybe cut to the next morning of the camera guy walking up to her and just saying, you okay? And she's like touching her head, and there's like a news article or something, just that 5 teens had been murdered, and she's like, just turn it off, and that's where the film ends.
Yeah, even the part of them like seeing the first teens get killed and realizing the shit's real, and then going away, and him saying, "You got to leave now. I can't do this with you here." If they had actually left, I would have appreciated it. Would have made them less attractive as people. Obviously, they would just let these teenagers die, but it would have been the reality of like, now you have to live with yourself of what happened. And it could have still been the long run is now he starts to come after them. Now we start to see that they start to get taken out. They're his next victims.
Right.
And that was his ploy all along too. But or they become like fodder for the girl who survives if she actually did. We would have lost that moment of her like showing that she was not virginal at all, which was a funny moment. But like all the rest of the stuff with the kids that got killed, they weren't interesting at all. They were exactly the stereotypes that they should have been. So it didn't do anything when they started getting killed to add to the movie's enjoyment. It was just emotions.
And in those stereotypical horror films, those cookie cutter teens are the ones you're meant to hate. Yep. But if this film turned it on its head and made it so these documentarians are the ones that you ultimately hate in the end, I think that would have been interesting. I don't think, a film doesn't have to end with happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, and that's why I try not to end my films on positive notes. I feel accomplished if my film ends and the audience feels sick to their stomach and empty and just completely dead inside.
I'm really curious.
And they believed that it had went down the way that he thought it was going to, the way that he explained it was going to, and that the girl killed him. And so they're sitting there and they're like, they still feel the guilt because so many people did die with
their secret also died with Leslie.
Right.
It would have been like, oh, these people must feel like shit.
But then
and
they
we feel like
pick up on the fact that Leslie isn't actually dead.
Right.
And they start seeing him. The stuff that was happening where he was stalking the girl at the beginning starts happening to them. And that's where the film ends, is that they realize, oh, shit. Not only did we let this happen, but it's going to now happen to us. And who do we go to for help? Because we allowed this shit in the first place and we were okay with it. That would make it, to me, a much stronger end.
No, yeah, that would have been cool. I would have loved that. Yeah.
But we are talking about, I don't know how many films the people who made this had done before this. And I knew Angela Goethals before going into this. I watched her on Phenom when it was on ABC, like with Judith Light after Who's the Boss went off the air. And I spotted her in other things here. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember her. She was really cool. The people in this are great. It's just there's things that maybe lack of experience or lack of budget or whatever didn't allow them to do. And it's really easy to pick something apart and say, oh, I would have done this, I would have done this. But the overall idea is pretty cool.
Right.
And smartly written in a lot of ways. There's a lot of gold here. There's just certain things that for me didn't ultimately work out in the way that I would have done it. But me doing something different, that's like Dr. Seuss versus Roald Dahl.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But is that why you picked this? Because it was kind of your first foray into this kind of movie and your inspiration for the audition?
I think so. I don't know. It's.
I just thought it was cute when you
look of.
You messaged me and you're like, "Oh, you guys haven't seen this? Oh, that's great!" You just got so excited. I could almost hear your glee from it.
Yeah, no, because I think it's a good movie. I love, and the thing that really makes it great I'm really, because I've said this before. I'm not interested in the scares of horror films. I'm interested in the characters and the aesthetic and relationships and all those types of things. And I think the relationship, it's almost romantic between Leslie and the female videographer, the journalist. And it's so, I almost wanted them to get together in the end of the movie. Like when they have their moment at the end, right before he's like, "You gotta go, you gotta leave. I can't do this with you here." I was like, "Oh, it's so." And then when he says, when his head is trapped in the cider press at the end, and he says, "I knew it was you." It's like, it's like almost a romantic movie moment, but twisted on its head. In a horror scenario.
When he's talking about what the final girl is, when we're even looking at a girl who isn't the one he's been stalking, but he just kind of like, when she looks and notices him and he's like, "Did you feel that? Did you see that connection happen between us?" Right. Like, because to him, it is a romantic relationship. To him, it is, that's something that has mostly been missing from these kinds of films. I guess maybe to some degree, like in Valentine or whatever, there's some of it, but in a lot of these things, it's not a romantic relationship between Freddie and Nancy, and it's not a relationship between Jason and whoever is the final girl in that particular movie. But we had a connection that was kind of created in Halloween that they ultimately took away. You know, they wanted it to be less of a connection between them, and she was just a random girl, except now in the new ones, it's like she's a random girl, but ultimately he's chasing her no matter what. And I loved having that from Halloween 2 on, is that his connection to Laurie Strode was familial. There was a reasoning behind it. Sure, that can wear it on you after a little bit, but I felt like in the context of the movies, even when they went back and redid stuff to put in H2O as opposed to what had happened before with 4, 5, and 6, I thought
that's a great moment.
Oh, you broke up.
Moment too in H2O between the two of them. Me?
Yeah.
Oh, you came back though.
Okay, cool. All right. Even that moment in H2O when Michael is pinned against the car and their hand, and he sticks out his hand, even though, you know, in Resurrection it's not Michael. But just focusing on H2O, that moment where Laurie reaches out her hand to touch Michael, and they almost touch, and then she just takes his head off.
Yeah, it's like very much like Ripley and the Alien Queen, you know, or where it goes by the time we get to Alien 4.
Right.
That I felt like Scream had that at points and could have emphasized that more. I still feel like at the end of the day, it should have always been that Sidney was the killer. But in all of these things, it's like I love that little bit of humanity to it, because a killer with no motivation is very scary, but doesn't make a lot of sense for a long haul kind of thing. And I like there to be something there that I can as much as it sounds sickening, to identify with the killer.
Right.
You want a depth to the villain.
You have to.
It makes them feel more realistic, which is scarier.
Yeah. Well, even even looking at the new Halloween, I don't know what you guys thought of it. I watched the episode. I need to rewatch it. But you got his relationship with the mask even
right
is so familial and so personal that after 40 years of being incarcerated in Smith's Grove again, which I still have a problem with, but that's the conversation for another day. That's his trigger that makes him, ultimately motivates him to escape and to go after the thing that is familiar to him, which is his mask, the thing that he has such a close personal connection with.
Yeah, I had going over it more and more. Like, I went from enjoying the movie when I saw it in the theater to having some problems to having more and more problems as I watched it for
as longer you sat on it.
Yeah, and just in general, it's like, well, that doesn't work either. Oh, and really, that kind of falls apart. But I still think that there's a lot of good in it that I loved. And some of the problems that other people had with it, especially about the women being the stronger characters, stuff like that doesn't bother me. Right. But I do think in the context of the plan and how things just kind of land into place, that I take some issues with to just like, to allow that moment to happen, we have to have these other things just kind of like, oh, well, I guess, sure, if you're shitty at your job, cop, or if you buy into the doctor, because why would you?
And those are things that are that made it like there were a lot of roll your eye moments in that movie. But I think I saw it 2 times in theaters and I just wanted to love it, and I loved it a little less the second time I saw it.
Yeah,
my only issue with the women, honestly, is that the granddaughter calls Lori grandmother every freaking scene.
Yes.
Have you spoken to grandmother? Like, is she fucking Amish?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who does that? Nobody talks like that.
Nobody
talks like that. I don't care how distant you are from your grandmother. Nobody talks like that. Like, if you're saying your grandmother or it's in a possessive context, yes. But have you spoken to grandmother? Who does that? But anyway, I digress.
My mom gets pissed at me if I ever call her mother because she knows that I'm doing it in some underhanded shit way. Like, don't call me mother. I will fucking beat you where you stand, boy.
With a clothes hanger.
Yeah, and she's almost 70 and still could. Nani and Papa, that's something familiar. Even if you're distant from your grandmother, you're not going to just call her grandma. That's true. I
call my grandma Nani.
Yeah,
that's fine, but it's so weird. It's a weird way of talking that I could not connect to or relate to in any way. But,
yeah, that's a weird tick in writing, and sometimes, and that's where editing comes in, and having a good editor comes in. It's a second set of eyes to take a look at those things and clean that shit up.
Right.
But maybe
the scary thing is they probably had that second set of eyes.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said maybe it was checked out by somebody who calls his grandmother.
Just like a guy in like an Amish like big rim hat with overalls, just like, it looks good to me.
Yeah, isn't it Danny McBride? Like he's been hanging out with the Amish like Kingpin all week. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of value to that movie and to this movie that, while ultimately not making it a classic for me, is not something that I want to like go out on some huge rant and say that this thing was shit. I don't think it was shit at all. I think that there's a lot to like, a lot to have fun with, and while the cameos are certainly just there to be cameos,
right?
I never get mad seeing Robert Englund come and show up and get to play with type. He's he is who he is, and I love that he is that person, and I love that he still gets his rewards for being that guy. I know that he's capable of something else. I know he's capable of more. Right. I like to see him have the opportunity to do that if it interests him. But if he just wants to come in and collect a paycheck and just be funny and cool, be that person, you know, that we got a chance to see Zelda again shortly before she passed away, that we got a chance to see Scott in something other than the Walking Dead stuff. I mean, it's over 10 years back. Right?
Scott Wilson is another character in this film who I like. I was like so fascinated by his character, and I wish he was in the movie more.
Yeah, I wanted to see more of his character, his character story and background, and his wife's. Like, I loved them.
Right.
Like, was she his final girl? Where did that come from?
Right.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think so too. I think just even like when he's talking about like the good old days, and he's just like cutting the carrots.
He's too young to be talking about the good old days, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Who's that?
Scott Wilson?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess the guy was old as fuck. I shouldn't even. I'm just going to go back to my own little world.
I guess it depends on what your good old days are. I think we all have our own personal good old days.
Totally do. Carry on.
We're not a country we're trying to make great again. We're just... my good old days were Mountain Dew in glass bottles. That to me, that's a good old day thing. Not this shit here, motherfucking piece of...
You can get Sundrop in bottles here.
Yeah, and they had glass bottle Mountain Dew for a little while, and I loved that. It made me really happy.
Is that 4th of July Mountain Dew?
That is the culprit.
The one that you hated.
Yeah,
that was so bad. But yeah, that's.
Do you guys not do what you're drinking anymore?
We kind of threw all formatting out the window.
Yeah. But Matt was really on it last week.
Well, last week was a very American.
Very special occasion.
I guess we could do it for Anthony. He's drinking Heinekens. I saw that. We're going to. We're gonna fucking do it. We're doing it.
Okay.
Go.
I'm drinking a tall boy Heineken. So yeah, I came prepared too. I have like 3 other ones. I thought we were doing what you're drinking. I was waiting for it.
No, we just kind of go. Like, I mean, if you want to show off all your... Did you bring 5 cans of Heineken?
Hold on one sec.
All right, yeah.
You always get... you just got the whole pack.
Yeah, see? Look at him go.
I was ready.
Well, I didn't say I wasn't drinking. I only had 2 because I'm, a buddy of mine brews homebrew, and this is his Belgian double, which is pretty good. And
I like that the label is just painter's tape with script.
Well, it's because he gave me a chocolate milk stout also, and then a dry Irish stout. So I'm like, I hope you wrote on what there is, because I don't know what these are. And then the other one is a strawberry rhubarb beer, because I had to get my fruits with my beers. I have very terrible gut rot. Yeah.
Did you say butt rot?
Gut. G-U-T.
Oh. I believe one follows the other.
Well, after all the nacho cheese I ate yesterday, butt rot is sure to follow. Like, there was a couple times I thought I was going to have to do an old sausage thrower out of this room. What is a sausage thrower, you ask? Because you're both staring at me. The term was coined from to my 2 best friends' dad.
It was from a Master P lyric.
Yep, it was Master P. No, and my 2 best friends' dad he coins it a sausage stroller because one time he had to shit so bad that he was eating a sausage and then just threw it and ran to the bathroom.
My uncle once described to me a time that they had eaten hot dogs from a 7-Eleven while they were driving somewhere and had to shit, had no place they could stop. It was like the emergency, just get out of the van and shit where you are. So he was shitting on somebody's lawn in the middle of the night, but it's also that shit where you have to take off all your clothes because you're afraid you're going to shit on your own clothes.
Oh.
And then he had to run away from the pooping because he didn't want to be near where it was because it was that bad. So he's just running naked and shitting on somebody's lawn. And this is the person that I modeled myself after for most of my life. So I don't.
In high school, we like this was in high school before everyone had a cell phone. So we like randomly stopped at someone's house and the guy showed up and he was shirtless and was just buttoning his pants. And we're like, what the fuck are you doing? And he goes, well, I was taking a shit. I'm like, why is your shirt off? He goes, well, I just shit naked.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Is that like a normal thing? Like, I've taken my pants off to shit and left my shirt on, but I usually do not get so into my shits that I need to get naked to do so, unless I'm about to shower.
Yeah. Go ahead, Anthony.
Depends. It could be an event. Sometimes it's we're not going to get into too much detail, but yeah,
we will. We absolutely will.
Yeah, sometimes they're wet and slappy.
The audience demands it.
Yeah.
Like, the audience demands to know about my bowel movements.
You know what? Everyone does it.
Where you just like feel like I'm too constricted by having anything on me at this point. I need all of this off. You just take off all your clothes. Totally. You don't throw it in the bathtub because you don't know if you're going to get up and just spray yourself down afterwards. But you toss it aside across the room so it's nowhere near you because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Also, don't you get hot when you shit sometimes?
No.
Oh, man.
I have things to do, so I normally don't take too much time when I'm taking a shit.
It's like the meat sweats, only in reverse.
The shit sweats?
Yeah.
The schwets?
The schwets.
The schwets.
No, sometimes I just
depends
go into
on how the cleanup is going to be afterwards. It
Oh
really
my
depends
God.
on that.
I mean, you guys
If
don't
it
have.
comes out in one solid, section.
You don't have a power washer near your toilet?
You go outside and sit on the
Yeah,
picket, the lawn.
Yeah, why have I have a wife so that she can power wash my spaghetti house when I'm done?
Oh.
If there was ever a commercial for Chef Boyardee that needs to happen. First of all, fuck you, TV, for ruining Chef Boyardee. It's Chef Boyardee. Don't put some fake Italian guy in there and call it Chef Boyardee. No, fuck you.
I was like, what is happening? I thought it was Chef Boyardee, and now you're
Chef Boyardee, but they put out commercials recently. I am Chef Boyardee.
Is it like Joe Dierte? Don't try to class it up, Dirt.
You're not Boyardee if you've got little fucking happy face meatballs in your SpaghettiOs, you dick.
Ooh, I have not had spaghetti. SpaghettiOs are terrific. You know what's really good? SpaghettiOs with fish crackers on top.
What?
If SpaghettiOs couldn't be white trash enough, you need to put the little fish crackers on top.
All right, it took me a second to realize that you're talking about Pepperidge Farm fish. I was trying to figure out if they were crackers that you feed to fish or it was crackers that were made from
sprinkled
dried
fish food on top of my SpaghettiOs.
Because I had no idea what that was for a second. But I like where your head's at because the first time my friends ever made me, I was over at their house and their family made potato soup. They're like, do you want any potato soup? I'm like, do you have any Cheetos?
Ooh.
And I don't, but in my head said this is a necessity, but it was a goddamn necessity that they had Cheetos to put in that potato soup.
Yeah, that makes it
but
way
not
better.
Fire Red Hot Cheetos because that shit will burn your ass for 9 days.
So we watched Hot Ones last night. Which, if you don't know what Hot Ones is, stop listening to the show and kill yourself.
I don't know what Hot Ones is.
God damn it, Corey! Now you got to commit podcast to poo-poo.
That's the only reason I make films, is so I can hopefully one day get on that.
Get on Hot Ones. I think it would be so much fun, and I love hot chicken.
I would.
So basically, it's an interview show on YouTube where they eat progressively hotter wings until they get.
I actually have heard of this.
Okay. So it was the Adam Devine 4th of July episode.
Yeah.
And I was trying to compare like the hottest wings at Buffalo Wild Wings, which everyone should know what that is. It's a national fucking chain. The blazing ones are about 300,000 Scoville units. The hottest one on that show is 2 million.
Yeah.
Like, that is fucking outrageous.
You should. I've ordered their oh god, what's it? I think it's the Hot Ones sauce that they sell on their website.
Yeah, you can get the last dab in the other one, I believe.
I still fucking have it. I can't finish the motherfucker.
Did you get the last dab?
The one where it
Okay.
has to either that one or I don't think I got Mad Dog 357 because that's not theirs, right?
No, it's not theirs. Apparently you can buy all of their sauces.
It tastes like a freaking extract. It tastes like an ingredient. It doesn't. It's delicious. It's like sweet, but
really,
that's the initial bite, and then it gets really fucking. It tastes like you have a battery burning in your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have Los Calientes, which is the lesser hot of the two, and then the last dab. Last dab's sold out. Reaper edition.
It's a good sauce. It's just really, 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 really fucking hot.
Oh damn! I really want to get this pucker butt. We were talking about it last night. It was one of the sauces. It's only $20. It's not that bad.
What they need to do is they need to make a lip balm, like a lip gloss. For women who are into hot ones who can handle it and everything, so they put the lip gloss on, and then if they kiss a guy and he cries like a little bitch, then they know that he's not worth dating. I'm a marketing fucking genius.
You should get a marketing job.
Ah, man. Work.
We should just get new jobs.
Yeah. Somebody should pay us for this.
I really wish I got paid for this. I don't know why someone should change that.
By the way, I disagree. Nobody should pay us for this.
Why not?
I don't know.
Everyone should pay us for this.
Like, your absenteeism of watching the movie to the ending it most of the time, and my
I've been better lately.
Yeah. Did you watch all the way through the credits on this one?
No, because I had to leave so I could go watch American soccer.
Did you watch the mid-credit sequence?
No, I had to leave to watch American soccer. Should I do that right now? Should we do this on air?
It's a lot of.
It doesn't help when it doesn't.
Otter playing a mortician who's going, and the battery's on the table and everything, and he starts to take the cover off of it, and it's laying there, and then all of a sudden you realize that the dude's still alive, and it just gets up.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help when I don't like the movie. Just calling a spade here. So, sorry, bud. It's not your fault. You didn't make it.
I know, but still, I want to bring you guys a good movie. A movie that you guys like.
I like this movie, Anthony. I have problems with it, and some of them are similar to the ones that Matt has. When I was watching it last night, Erin's like, "Oh, you've never seen this?" She goes, "This is a great movie." I'm like, okay. And she's like, if you wrote a horror book, it would be this. I'm like, I don't know that I agree with that.
What did she say when you had to watch Cure for Wellness? She said, like, fuck you or something?
Yeah, basically.
When you said you were watching a Cure for Wellness, she's like, fuck you.
Yeah, just like, what are you going to watch today? I'll watch the horror movie with you. I'm like, it's a Cure for Wellness. Nope, fuck you. I walked out the room. Nope.
Oh, man. Well, what makes you guys feel any better? I'm going to see Midsummer tonight.
Oh, you gotta let me know how it is. I'm curious. Something popped up on the internet about it, and now I'm kind of worried about it.
Everybody's talking about it, but it's the same person who did Hereditary.
Hereditary. That's why I'm worried about it, because I didn't like that movie.
Neither do we.
God damn it. We cannot find a friend of the show that is going to come on here to defend that fucking movie.
That's because that movie is garbage.
I get what it is, and I get the audience that it's serving. It's just not for me. It's too slow. I'm fine with slow burn horror films, but it's too slow. And it's too... There's, like, not a lot going on in it.
And what does go on doesn't make sense or jumps to such huge fucking conclusion. Right. And then
but I love The Wicker Man. So and they say this is like The Wicker Man. I like those types.
The Nick Cage Wicker Man?
Not the who likes the Nick Cage the Wicker Man? The one with Christopher Lee. The only Wicker Man.
Likes the Wicker Man with Nick Cage. But no, I've never seen either one. But I don't mind a burn film. I don't mind something that it takes a while to get to the thing. It'll bug me a little bit, but that movie was more of a wow, you had a huge tragedy in the beginning of this, and that was really interesting. But then the rest of the movie did nothing to follow up on that interesting thing. It was just a lot of other things going on. And that, every time I talk to Erin about that too, she's just like, 2 fucking hours. It was 2 fucking hours and it was bullshit.
Right. Well, like you have those there's a difference between someone who's a fan of horror and someone who's a mainstream horror fan who only watches a horror movie when a Get Out or Hereditary or an Us comes out. And they miss all these hidden gems that come out in the indie world or even in the mainstream world. Like, people are only going to see Crawl because Sam Raimi's name is now attached to it. I don't think it would have gotten as mainstream of a release because I'm excited for it. I love crocodile films.
Yeah. And
so I think that's it's a service to the horror community, but it also kind of is a pain in the ass.
I don't like,
this is trash compared to like a Marvel like Hereditary. I'm like, there's something for everybody. This just wasn't for me. And for you to call me an asshole for not liking it.
That's the thing is that Hereditary feels like it's I hate using this term because it is a bullshit term, but it feels like it's a very pretentious film fan that loves that movie. And I know that that's not the only type of fan who loves it. And I know that a lot of really good people and good friends of ours like that movie. It's just that when people say shit like, oh, you just don't get it, I'm like, how could I not get it? They spelled it all fucking out as blatantly as they could in the last 3 minutes of the movie to just tell you what happened in case you didn't fucking get it.
Right.
I got it. It just was shitty. But okay. I don't hate that people make and enjoy movies like that. Right. But I do agree with you that there is an audience out there that just thinks that's the only quality horror film because the rest of it is bullshit. People cutting off people's heads or Saw or Hostel or whatever else.
It's very funny that you just mentioned Saw.
It is, but that's not all that horror movies offer.
Right.
We talk about a whole bunch of different kinds just in this episode alone. And like, if it's the one thing you love in horror films, great. I'm glad it exists for you. And again, I don't like shitting on the person who made a movie that did, connect with an audience and told their story and made, art that is incredible. It's incredible to see that film get made. And the performances and stuff from people in it were really good. I don't like it. I don't.
Well, and I don't think that this what's his name? The auteur behind Hereditary and who made Midsommar. I don't believe he's out to get anybody. I don't believe he's out to make a quick buck. I believe that this is the story. This is what he's interested in. And who knows? I might go see Midsommar and fucking love it.
Right.
I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm going off of critics who have said, if you hated Hereditary, you're going to hate this movie, which I think is kind of unfair. So that's why if I were like one of those pretentious assholes, I would say, oh, I didn't like Hereditary, I won't see this one. I'm still going to see it because I haven't seen it. It could be, those critics could just be full of shit and not know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to go to some little rinky-dink shit theater like I did the last time. Well, I don't live there now anyway. But to watch it, I will probably wait to see it hit a Shudder or a Netflix or whatever. But I'm not against seeing this person's other work. And the fact that I've sat through Hereditary twice means that I will go through the torturous travels of watching this fucking movie again.
And there were good things about the movie. Like there were moments where I was like, oh shit, this is scary as fuck.
That is probably what pisses me off the most, is that I think I said there were probably 3 different quality horror movies that could have happened from stuff in that. Right. It just was none of them.
Right. But then you have you have people who are like, I keep saying that, but like, I loved, and I shouldn't have, but I loved the Child's Play reboot, whatever you.
I'm hearing great things about that remake. I haven't seen it, but
it's a totally new premise, which is what a remake should be. It's not rehashing old ideas. The only thing that's the same in this is that the kid's name is Andy, the mom's name is Karen, and the doll's name is Chucky.
Yeah.
Those are the only things that are the same. And and Mark Hamill in it was superb.
Yeah.
He was so good. Cause it's like, I like how I don't want to spoil anything, but it's like, it's an AI. It's not inhabited by the soul of a serial killer.
So I think it's really funny that they went AI because it is so prevalent and with how much AI exists in the world. Yeah, that's what made it most interesting for me.
Yeah.
Especially given my line of work, and I assume Corey's at least somewhat in agreement with that.
Yeah. So it's Chopping Mall.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. And so this is, I went on a rant on Facebook to not go on it here about the new
Shocker. Sorry.
Little Mermaid.
I read your post, yeah.
And the people who are pissed off because the actress is African American. And I don't cotton to that. That's a terrible term to choose. I don't enjoy that feeling of, because it's a person of color playing the role, that people are pissed off. But I don't love the remake-itis. I don't love the remaking all of their animated films into what they call live action that aren't.
I said something to my wife about it, and she goes, "Man, people are going to be pissed when they realize Jesus wasn't white." I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong.
That's absolutely true. But remakes bother me, because we're at a point in time where there's so much ability to have new things, and we still go to the cheapest, easiest possible thing to do, which is just give people more of the shit that they already have. And I don't love that. At the same time, we are also at a point where there's so much need for content that it's inevitable. But for the last 10 years or 20 years of just remake, with nothing inspirational coming from it,
there's a built-in fan base for it, and that's ultimately why they do it. They don't have to put in the work to build up the fans and get people interested. People are already interested. Yeah. Because the kids that watched the movies when they came out are now the ones buying the tickets 20 years later. And it's like, gosh, I wish I wasn't such a slut for Disney.
No, absolutely.
Because I love them so much. I love them. I would die for Disney. Wow. And that's the shitty thing, because I know that they'd be like, oh, it's thanks, I guess, know, whatever. But no, it's like it's a little. I mean, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but the Mulan trailer came out today.
Is
that live action too?
I haven't watched it.
But that's not going to be. They're not using any of the songs, so they say, and they're making it much more of a war movie. Now, Mulan is not my favorite Disney film, but I think that that's a cool concept if you're going to make a live action film. They're not putting the songs. They're making a Mulan film that just happens to be by Disney.
See, I wasn't into it, but I liked what they did with Maleficent, in theory, because I haven't seen the film. But the idea of, we're not retelling Cinderella, we're telling the story of Maleficent.
That was my issue. That's one of the Disney films I cannot stand.
Yeah, and I know that that's not a movie that I want anyway. Right. But at least it was a concept that it was similar to doing Wicked.
Right. Well, and that's it's so funny you mentioned that, because I love the music in Wicked, but that's another issue I have. I take issue with villains needing morals and needing a reason to do what they do. Like, she's called the Wicked Witch of the West. She was destined for this. Maleficent is called the Mistress of All Evil. She's that way because that's what she enjoys doing. That's what she chose. And so I think it's fine to do if you want to hear that story. It just doesn't interest me.
Well, but at the same time, like we were just a few minutes ago talking about, the Leslie Vernon character having some of the motivations of him and having the romanticism between him and the other makes him feel more relatable, which makes him a broader, more interesting villain in the fact that his motivations led him to being this person that he is.
Right.
And so it's a little bit weird, because the Wicked Witch of the West, for me, growing up, I listened to the 8-track of Wizard of Oz a billion times as a kid. and she's never needed more than what she was in my head. You know,
Right.
she's a great villainous character. I didn't need depth to that character. But if it was a new story, I might be like, why is she
Right.
that? And
Well,
on the other hand, it's a person who got really rich writing a lot of books and making musicals and stuff off of someone else's creation.
Right. Well, and have you read the book? Have you read Wicked or seen the musical?
No.
Can I give you a slight spoiler?
Sure.
So, the thing I like about Wicked is that it introduces a new villain, where she is no longer the villain of the story. The villain of the story is the Wizard of Oz, who has manipulated all of Oz because the Wicked Witch saw something she shouldn't have.
You know what's really fucked up is I've seen Wicked. Just throwing that out there.
How sober were you?
100%. I took my wife on a nice date.
That's nice. That's sweet.
Yep.
How sober were you by the end of the night?
I didn't drink one bit.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm not saying I didn't like it. It was definitely more for her than me, but I didn't have a bad time.
If Aaron and I went on a date and saw Wicked, it would be her treating me to something that I would be interested in, not the other way around. But I totally get it. And again, that's a great writing tactic of every character is the star of their own story.
Right.
So if you're watching The Wizard of Oz, it's Dorothy's story the whole way through, but it's also in the Cowardly Lion's life, it's his story, and in Scarecrow's life, it's his story, and to Toto, it's his story, and to the Wicked Witch, it would be her story, and so there should be a feeling of like, just because you heard it this way doesn't mean that that's the only way that it should be told.
Right.
And I appreciate that, and I, as a person who's also written stuff and thought about putting in the public domain in my own lifetime, as opposed to for waiting for the Mickey Mouse laws to break through, and because I just think it's interesting to see people do different takes on stuff. I don't have a huge problem, literally, with someone saying, "Here's Wizard of Oz, and I'm going to tell it like this." I think that's okay. It's just if that's all you do, or if you're the person who writes the 50 Shades of Grey stories, and then you're deciding, oh, I'm going to come back and tell the same story again, but from Christian Grey's perspective instead, so I can still milk this cash cow because I can't come up with anything new. And then I'm going to have a little bit of a disrespectful tone towards you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about Hollywood, is that Hollywood is afraid to give people new stuff, certainly afraid to throw money behind it, except on TV. You know, they're doing stuff on TV that is much more brave, and I wonder if films are going to get there. I love the giant spectacle of the Marvel movies. I have no problem with a blockbuster film. I don't go to see movies that often in the theater, but I think it's odd that that's what they've all kind of become. Is that it's another summer of remakes, and the remakes aren't doing that well, or remakes and sequels aren't doing that well, and they're surprised and they're concerned and they're like, well, why didn't Dark Phoenix do well, even though we got the same guy back to do Dark Phoenix that fucked it up the first time in X3? I don't know, Hollywood. Why didn't Toy Story 4 perform as well as we thought it was going to? Why didn't Godzilla when they ignored the last two iterations of it? I don't know, Hollywood. How does that keep happening to you? You poor dear. Tell me about it. Cry on my shoulder. I just the definition of insanity, right? You know, keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. But I wish that there could be braver choices out there and still have these things too, because I would love to see the movies that I've enjoyed continue to be things that there's still vibrant ideas. There's still a lot of things that can be done, obviously, with Spider-Man or with Toy Story or whatever, or Lego movies. There's still so much that you can milk there. But if it's all you're doing and you're just going through the motions, then it seems like that's a shitty way to be considered a creative commodity.
Do you want to rate this movie, maybe?
That's like, there goes my nap. I just want to watch this game now.
I mean, I still got 3 hours, but I need to poop.
Nice.
I'm just bringing it full circle to the poop talk. So yeah, marry, fuck, kill. Anthony, you have to start because you brought it.
So how does this work?
I've tried to make it as least sexist as possible for this show. That's basically like, I felt you up a little bit, but you were okay with it. Marry, fuck, kill. Marry is a film that you love, that you want to keep, you want to have on your shelf forever. Fuck is a movie that you're totally happy that you watched, you had a good time, you're gonna let it go on its way, but you're not mad about it. And kill is like, don't ever do this to me again. I will slaughter you and your whole family.
Mm-hmm.
So this film, in addition to 2 others, or what do you?
Well, just that's the rating system. Do you love this film? You want to marry it? Do you enjoy this film? You want to fuck it? Do you hate this film? You want to kill it?
Okay.
And I'm so proud of you that I had to explain what marry, fuck, kill is.
I know what marry, fuck, kill is. I just meant in context of this.
Oh, precious Corey.
Oh. I'm gonna marry this flick. I'm gonna marry it because I think it's a sensual movie. I'd have no problem taking this movie, to bed after marriage.
Through a Mormon.
I think she's a good flick, really good for multiple reviewings. I've watched this movie. I watch this movie at least once or twice a year. Because
that's a solid marriage.
Yeah.
What's a year is better than my wife gets from me.
So yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with.
Corey.
I'm leaning towards a fuck.
Ooh.
I would say it's it might get booty called every once in a while, but I'm not dreaming about it. It was a good time. It was enjoyable. It wasn't at its best. I wasn't at my best. We're probably not compatible that way.
Fucking such a weird description.
It was a weird finger up the asshole that I wasn't expecting, that turned me off a little bit. But overall, the time was still good.
All right, well, I'm going to kill it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's no one's shocked by this.
Next movie I bring you guys, Matt, you're going to love.
What other ones have you got?
Just send him beer. And he will be so
I don't
happy.
need any more beer.
He will love whatever you put in front of him.
I do not need more beer. So Hostel, not a bad movie. Cure for Wellness was not good. I'm sorry.
I'm looking at my shelf right now to see if there's anything I can bring you guys that you would like.
But Anthony, you have an advantage because what you bring us in quality films as to what we're reviewing doesn't matter. You bring us amazing films that you make.
Right. There's that.
Oh,
a little different.
Thank you.
Do you guys want to get a room after this, or maybe not?
Maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah, maybe once or twice a year.
Wow, this is weird. Can't wait
to a Mormon hole in the sheet.
Boy, so we don't actually have an outro for this, so nope. I don't know. Anthony,
what about Joyride? Do you guys like Joyride?
I haven't seen it in a really long time, but I remember not hating it.
Oh, that's a perfect crossover thing for you, though, Matt, because isn't it Paul Walker in that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, let me get through some of the Fast and Furious movies, and then we'll have them back.
Okay.
Anthony, where can people find you, support you, love you, touch you?
Facebook, IMDb. I have a Twitter, don't really use it. I have an Instagram. I'm there, and my address will be in the comments below for a sensual touching.
But the big thing is your Vimeo channel, because while your newest movie isn't there yet, it's coming up. And is the Audition there?
The Audition is there. The website is angermandistribution.com, and that's the easiest way to get. And that has the link to their Vimeo channel that has a bunch of great titles on it, a bunch of independent films, a lot of them horror.
All right, say it one more time.
angermandistribution.com.
And that's definitely the best place. Social media is that's a kill for me right now. But I
definitely there.
I love having an open door for people to have contact with us and everything. It's not about that. It's just that social media in general is a pain in the ass. That's why people should email us.
If you really want to.
Yeah.
You can.
Love you too.
PoT@gncast.com.
Yep.
Corey? I'm not even going to say where can people find you, because you don't want people to find you and you're going to pitch whatever the fuck you want anyways.
Not about not wanting people to find me. It's just that I'm not really entertaining anywhere.
What do you want to push this week, Corey?
You've got your new podcast.
I do.
I'm excited to talk about and hear more of.
Well, if you listen to the show, you already know, so.
But if you didn't listen to the last show, you might not.
It's the Cast and the Furious. It's Matt Vincent and I doing live commentary over the Fast and the Furious movies. And then after the Fast and the Furious movies, we'll find other hyper high dollar action movies to talk about. It's actually just nonsensical. Yeah.
I can't wait for your review of Hereditary.
Well, so Twilight came up. I don't know if I told you this, but he wants to keep Twilight on this show. So Twilight will not be on Cast and Furious, but it still will happen here eventually. But he's a busy man. I don't think we're doing the second episode till like the 15th, so a week from tomorrow.
Yeah. And then, of course, looking forward to the Angry Birds film.
Fuck, man. I'm sure he knows someone that was in that movie, and so he'll have that person on as a guest. Anthony's just shaking his head. But yeah, I think that'll do it. Next week, we're going to do Saw 1 and 2.
I was wondering if that was when that was starting, so...
Yeah,
yep.
well, I mean, unless you want to do something else.
No, I'm good with it. I thought we were going to clear it up before we started with the show, but we were doing technical difficulty.
Yeah, fucking... We're still trying to figure out how to use not Hangouts, and it just never seems to work in our favor. Maybe next week. Maybe if Corey figures out his brand new Linux computer that he decided to start using on the day we were recording.
I decided earlier in the week.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, we should probably... Yeah, we'll figure something out. But, we'll have a guest. His name's Mike Hickey. Also, Randy Fitzsimmons. He's a professional wrestler. If you weren't here for that explanation, his wife has never seen any of the Saw movies, so we decided we're going to watch them all. So we watched 3 last night and then started watching YouTube Professional Wrestling instead of Saw 4. But we're a little bit ahead of the game, so I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But yeah, that's that. So...
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Podcast of Terror. We really enjoyed you being part of the show. We want to thank Anthony deeply for being a part of it, and
always
love to have you. So look forward to having you back.
Absolutely.
Yes, smoke, crack, and worship Satan.
That's a better sign off than mine.
We're going to switch to that one now?
No, probably not.
All right, fine. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Stay secure, everybody.